Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And wow, did we get a fascinating topic sent in for this one.
Yeah, this one's really important.
It's all about coping mechanisms for PTSD, dealing with the after effects of trauma. And we got this really in-depth article all about it.
It's packed with strategies.
Yeah, so we're going to break it all down so you can walk away with practical tools you can use.
For yourself, for someone you care about.
Exactly. Whether you're dealing with this personally or you know someone who is, we're here to help equip you with the right knowledge.
And one of the things that really struck me as I was reading through this article was just how powerful some of the simple things can be.
Ooh.
Even just holding something smooth or smelling a familiar scent.
Really?
These can be surprisingly powerful grounding techniques.
Huh, I never thought of it that way.
It's fascinating how we can actually tap into these everyday experiences to help manage something as challenging as PTSD.
Okay, so before we get into all the specifics, let's just level set, make sure we're all on the same page.
All right, what exactly are we talking about here?
Yeah, so PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Sometimes called shell shock.
Right. It's not just for soldiers or anything.
Absolutely not. It's not limited to people who have directly experienced a traumatic event.
So even witnessing something horrific can have a lasting impact.
Exactly. And it can manifest in so many ways.
Yeah, the article talks about flashbacks, nightmares, anxiety, difficulty concentrating or sleeping. It can really affect every aspect of your life.
And it's crucial to remember that these symptoms are not a sign of weakness.
They're a natural response to trauma.
Right.
Right.
And the sooner we can understand and address PTSD, the better the chances of minimizing those long-term effects.
Okay, so that's where these coping mechanisms come into play.
Exactly. It's like building a toolbox to help you navigate the emotional landscape of PTSD.
I like that analogy. A toolbox. So we're not talking about a cure or a quick fix.
Right. Coping mechanisms aren't about fixing PTSD. They're about giving you strategies to manage those symptoms and to regain a sense of control and ultimately improve your quality of life.
Okay, that makes sense. And the article kept mentioning this distinction between adaptive and maladaptive coping mechanisms.
Right. And I think that's super important to understand.
Yeah, honestly, I was a little fuzzy on that myself.
So think of it this way. Adaptive strategies. These are the tools that help build a solid foundation for recovery.
Like what kind of things?
Things like seeking support from loved ones or from professionals, engaging in relaxation techniques, focusing on self-care.
So things that are healthy and beneficial in the long run.
Exactly. Now, maladaptive coping mechanisms, on the other hand.
These are the ones that might feel good in the moment.
Right, but can actually be harmful over time.
Ooh, okay. So indulging in unhealthy habits to escape the pain, but it ends up making things worse.
Exactly. Avoidance is a big one.
Like trying to avoid anything that reminds you of the trauma.
Thinking that if you just don't think about it, you'll be fine.
But that doesn't really work, does it?
No, it actually prevents you from processing the experience.
Yeah.
And those feelings can become even more intense.
It's like sweeping everything under the rug only to trip over it later.
Exactly. You've got to face it head on in a healthy way.
So what are some other examples of these maladaptive coping mechanisms?
Things like substance abuse, self-harm, engaging in risky behavior.
These all provide that temporary relief, but ultimately they just make things worse.
Exactly. And that's why understanding the difference between adaptive and maladaptive is so important.
So you can make informed choices about how you're coping.
Right. Choose the tools that actually support your long-term well-being.
Okay, so let's talk about some of these adaptive strategies. I'm really intrigued by these grounding techniques that the article kept mentioning.
Ah, yes. Grounding techniques.
I mean, the term itself sounds kind of mystical to me. What does it actually mean in the context of PTSD?
Well, it's not magic, but it can be incredibly powerful.
Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine you're caught in this whirlwind of distressing thoughts and feelings related to the trauma.
I can only imagine.
Grounding techniques are like anchors. They pull you back to the present moment.
Okay, so it's about shifting your focus away from the past trauma.
Exactly. And with creating a sense of safety and control in the here and now.
So it's like a lifeline back to reality when those overwhelming memories or feelings take over.
Exactly. And it can be incredibly helpful during things like a flashback or a panic attack.
Okay, but how do you actually do it? What are some examples of these grounding techniques?
Well, one popular technique is the 5-4-3-2-1 method.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
It's simple, but surprisingly effective.
So how does it work?
You start by noticing 5 things you can see around you.
Let's say I have 5 things I can see.
Then 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear,
Yeah.
2 things you can smell, and finally 1 thing you can taste.
So you're basically taking a sensory inventory of your surroundings.
Exactly. You're deliberately focusing on concrete details to help break that cycle of intrusive thoughts and anxiety.
Okay, I can see how that would be helpful. It's like pulling yourself back into your body and into the present moment.
Right. Another great technique is sensory anchoring,
Sensory anchoring.
where you use a familiar object to ground yourself.
Like what?
This could be a smooth stone you keep in your pocket, a favorite piece of jewelry, or even a scented candle.
Okay.
The key is to focus on the object's physical properties.
Like its texture, temperature, scent.
Yeah, and let those sensations bring you back to the present.
That's so interesting. You know what? I actually did that once without even realizing it.
Really?
Yeah, I was super anxious before this big presentation,
Oh, I hate those.
and I just instinctively started fiddling with this smooth stone I keep in my bag.
See?
And it's amazing how just focusing on the texture and the temperature helped me calm down.
Exactly. These techniques can be so powerful.
Yeah,
And they're adaptable. You can use them anywhere.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we've got techniques for like pulling ourselves back to the present moment, but what about those times when you need to find a sense of inner calm?
Oh, well, that's where mindfulness and meditation come in.
Okay, those are definitely buzzwords I hear all the time. But how do they actually help with something as serious as PTSD?
Mindfulness is all about paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
Without judgment.
Yeah. It's about observing your thoughts and feelings as they come up, but not getting swept away by them.
So you're creating space between yourself and those difficult thoughts and emotions.
Exactly. You become a curious observer of your own mind, noticing those thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in their stories.
That sounds really hard.
It takes practice, but the benefits are amazing.
Like what?
Improved emotional control, reduced anxiety and depression, increased self-awareness, and a greater sense of self-compassion.
Self-compassion, that's so important, especially when you're dealing with something as challenging as PTSD.
It is. And the great thing is there are these simple meditation practices you can try, even if you're a total beginner.
Okay, like what?
The article mentioned guided imagery, where you visualize a peaceful, safe place in your mind.
Oh, I love guided imagery. It's like taking a mental vacation to a stress-free zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the body scan,
Body scan.
where you bring your attention to each part of your body,
Okay.
noticing any sensations without judgment,
Yeah.
and letting go of any tension you might be holding.
Interesting. Okay, so we've got grounding techniques for staying present, mindfulness for finding inner peace. What about the body? Does physical activity play a role in managing PTSD?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, regular exercise can be one of the most powerful tools for managing those symptoms.
I mean, I can see how getting those endorphins pumping would improve your mood, but is there more to it than that?
Definitely, exercise doesn't just release endorphins. It also helps reduce those stress hormones like cortisol, which tend to be elevated in people with PTSD.
This is like a natural way to regulate your body's stress response.
Exactly. And, we all know that feeling of wanting to just scream or punch something when we're overwhelmed by stress.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Well, exercise can be a safe and constructive outlet for all that pent-up energy and emotion.
So it's not just about physical health. It's about mental and emotional well-being, too.
Right. And there are so many options.
The article mentioned jogging, yoga, martial arts, team sports.
The key is to find something you enjoy and that you can stick with.
Yeah, it's got to be something you look forward to.
Exactly. It should feel good physically and mentally.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Grounding techniques, mindfulness exercise. What are some other everyday things people can do to support their well-being and manage those PTSD symptoms?
Well, creating a supportive daily routine can be incredibly helpful.
Okay, so like providing a sense of structure and predictability.
Exactly, to help navigate those emotional ups and downs.
I can see how that would be grounding.
The article had some great tips for building a routine focused on self-care.
Like what?
Starting your day and ending it at the same time each day, even on weekends.
Even on weekends.
This helps regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle, which can be disrupted by PTSD.
So consistency is key.
Absolutely. And then there are the basics. Make sure you're eating regular, nutritious meals.
Yeah, it's easy to let those things slide when you're struggling.
I know, but they make a huge difference. And of course, schedule in some time for exercise.
Get those endorphins going.
And make sure you're getting social interaction,
So important.
whether it's connecting with loved ones, hanging out with friends, joining a support group.
It's a reminder that you're not alone.
Exactly. And finally, wind down before bed with some calming activities.
Ooh, like what?
Reading, taking a warm bath, listening to relaxing music, doing some gentle stretches.
Ah, so it's all about creating this structured yet flexible routine that prioritizes self-care.
Exactly.
and supports your overall well-being. The article also mentioned journaling as a helpful tool.
Yes, journaling can be a fantastic way to manage PTSD.
How so?
It gives you this safe, private space to process emotions.
It's like having a conversation with yourself on paper.
Exactly. You can track your progress, gain a better understanding of your triggers and how you cope with them.
I can see how that would be incredibly helpful for self-awareness.
It allows you to express those thoughts and feelings that might be hard to articulate out loud.
And by writing things down, you might start to see patterns and make connections you wouldn't have noticed otherwise.
Right. It can be really eye-opening.
Wow, we've uncovered a treasure trove of coping mechanisms already.
And we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore.
This is exciting. I'm ready for more.
Remember, this is a journey, not a destination. And, as we're talking about all these different coping mechanisms, it really strikes me how important connection and support are.
Yeah, it's not something you can just tough out on your own.
Exactly. Recovering from PTSD is rarely a solo journey.
You need that support system
Having a strong support network is absolutely crucial.
for healing and growth.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the people in our lives. What role can family and friends play in supporting someone with PTSD?
Well, one of the most powerful things they can offer is empathy and understanding.
Just listening without judgment,
Exactly. Acknowledging the person's experiences.
letting them know they're not alone.
That can make a world of difference.
It's about creating that safe space where they feel comfortable sharing their feelings.
Without fear of being dismissed or invalidated.
Yeah, exactly. And support goes beyond just listening too, right?
Absolutely. Friends and family can offer encouragement and practical help.
Like what kind of things?
Maybe it's assisting with everyday tasks, offering childcare, or just being there to provide a distraction when things feel overwhelming.
Just being there can mean so much.
It's those small acts of kindness that can really make a difference.
And the article also highlighted the importance of professional support.
Yes, therapy and counseling can provide specialized guidance and tools for managing PTSD symptoms
So a trained mental health professional can help you develop those coping strategies.
and process those traumatic experiences, work through any underlying issues that might be contributing to your symptoms.
So how do you know when it's time to reach out to a professional?
Well, if you're finding it difficult to cope with daily life, if your symptoms are persistent,
And impacting your work, your relationships, your overall well-being.
that's a good indicator that seeking professional help would be beneficial.
It's a sign of strength, not weakness, to reach out for help.
Absolutely. It takes courage to acknowledge that you need support and to take those steps to get it.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, I was really intrigued by the article's discussion of creative outlets as tools for healing and processing trauma.
Oh yes, creative expression can be incredibly powerful.
And you don't have to be a professional artist to benefit from it.
No, not at all. The goal isn't to create a masterpiece
It's about using creative expression as a means of self-exploration.
and emotional release.
The article specifically mentioned art therapy and music therapy.
Those can be really effective.
How do those work?
In art therapy, a trained therapist guides you through creative processes like painting, drawing, sculpting, even collage.
To help you explore your emotions and experiences.
It's amazing how expressing yourself visually can unlock feelings and insights.
That might be difficult to access through words alone.
Yes.
It's like using art as a bridge to communicate with your inner world.
I love that. And music therapy works in a similar way.
Using music to heal.
Listening songwriting, playing instruments.
Music has this incredible power to evoke emotions and memories.
A skilled music therapist can help you process those experiences safely.
It's like having a soundtrack for the healing journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the power of writing and storytelling.
The article talked about how journaling can be a powerful tool for personal reflection.
And how sharing your story with others can be incredibly healing.
There's something so profound about putting your experiences into words.
Whether it's just for yourself in a private journal,
Or by sharing your story with a wider audience.
it can be incredibly validating and empowering.
Okay, so we've talked about grounding techniques, mindfulness exercise, but there's another crucial aspect of well-being we haven't touched on yet. The mind-body connection.
You're right. What we eat and how well we sleep can have a huge impact on our mental health.
Especially when it comes to managing PTSD.
It's all connected.
So let's talk about nutrition first. What are some of the key brain-boosting foods we should be incorporating into our diets?
Well, the article really emphasized fatty fish.
Like salmon, tuna, mackerel.
They're packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which are essential for brain health and have been shown to have mood-boosting effects.
Brain food. Got it. What else?
Leafy greens, like spinach and kale, are excellent sources of folate.
Which is crucial for neurotransmitter function.
Exactly.
And then there's whole grains, nuts, and seeds.
Providing essential vitamins and minerals, healthy fats.
It's all about nourishing our minds as well as our bodies.
Right.
And of course, we can't forget about sleep. The article mentioned that sleep disturbances are common for people with PTSD,
Yes. The trauma can disrupt the body's natural sleep-wake cycle.
making it difficult to fall asleep, stay asleep, or experience truly restful sleep.
So many people struggle with that.
Are there any strategies for improving sleep quality when PTSD is a factor?
Definitely. Establishing a consistent bedtime routine is key.
So going to bed and waking up at the same time every day?
Even on weekends, helps regulate your body's natural rhythm.
Makes sense. What about the sleep environment?
Creating a relaxing sleep environment is important.
Like making sure your bedroom is cool, dark, and quiet.
And limiting screen time before bed.
That blue light can really mess with your sleep.
It can. Avoiding caffeine and alcohol before bed is also helpful.
Yeah, those can actually disrupt sleep quality, even though they might seem relaxing at first.
It's all about setting yourself up for success when it comes to sleep.
I like that. Okay, so to recap, we've got grounding techniques, mindfulness exercise, a supportive daily routine, nourishing foods, and quality sleep.
It's a holistic approach.
And it's about finding what works best for you.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
It's a journey.
And it's important to be patient with yourself along the way.
You know, it's really inspiring to see just how many different approaches there are to healing.
It's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Exactly. And that actually makes me think about something that kept coming up for me as we were talking about all these coping mechanisms. Just the importance of understanding that what works for one person might not work for another.
Absolutely. There's no magic formula.
Right. So it's about finding what resonates with you personally.
And incorporating those strategies into your life in a way that feels authentic and sustainable.
It's like creating your own personalized toolkit for your mental health journey.
I love that analogy.
And it makes me think about how important patience is in this process.
Oh, absolutely.
There's going to be some trial and error involved, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's a process of experimentation and self-discovery.
You try things out, you see what sticks.
Some strategies might click right away. Others might take a little more time to integrate.
And some things might not feel right for you at all.
And that's okay.
It's all part of the journey.
Exactly. You're figuring out what works best for you.
I was especially drawn to the article's discussion of creative expression as a coping mechanism.
Yeah, that's a powerful one.
It seems like such a unique way to tap into emotions and experiences that might be hard to put into words.
When words fail, art, music, movement, self. Storytelling can provide these alternative avenues for expression and for healing.
It's like unlocking a hidden language.
The article specifically talked about art therapy and music therapy.
Can you tell us a little more about those?
Sure. So in art therapy, a trained therapist guides you through different creative processes.
Like painting, drawing, sculpting, even making collages.
Exactly. And it's amazing how creating something tangible can help unlock and process those deep-seated feelings and memories.
It's like giving shape and form to something that feels intangible.
That's a great way to put it. And then there's music therapy, which uses the power of music to achieve similar goals.
Whether it's listening, creating, or even just moving to music.
It can be incredibly therapeutic. Music has this unique ability to evoke emotions and memories.
And a skilled music therapist can help you harness that power to process and heal from trauma.
It's like finding the rhythm of your own healing journey.
And of course, we can't forget about writing and storytelling.
Journaling can be so powerful.
It gives you that safe space to just pour out your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
And for some people, sharing their story with others can be incredibly healing and empowering.
Whether it's through writing, speaking, or other creative mediums.
It's about taking back your narrative.
Transforming that pain into something meaningful.
You're not defined by your trauma.
Wow. We've covered so much in this deep dive.
We have.
And yet it feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
There's always more to learn and explore when it comes to PTSD and healing.
But I hope this conversation has given our listeners a sense of hope.
And a sense of possibility.
Knowing that there are so many different paths to healing.
And so many resources available.
We want to hear from you. What resonated with you the most?
What strategies are you excited to try?
Share your thoughts, your questions, your own experiences with coping mechanisms.
Let's keep the conversation going.
Remember, you're not alone on this journey.
There's a whole community of support out there.
And together we can create a world where healing and resilience thrive. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, take care and be well.